Thank you so very much and welcome, family. This is the Conversation with Pastor Strike. I just want to welcome you, my dear brothers and our sons. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Really appreciate you for utilizing this platform so that we are able to sharpen each other as iron sharpens iron. You know, a friend enhances the countenance of a friend. Last week, we had a challenge with the background music, and many of my fellow men and the boys, they said, no, the background music is too loud. It is hard to listen, to hear clearly. And we are very sorry for that, and we have sorted it. And that is why many said, please, I need to redo the last week show because they want to share it with family and friends, but it's too the background music is too loud. I'll try, but I cannot guarantee, because every time you sit and you open your mouth, it's not only what you have prepared, but it's also what God inspires at that particular time. But I will be able to capture this and that, looking at what we also spoke about last week. But I trust that it's gonna be fine. And thank you once more for tuning in, MTW men and our Facebook friends and viewers, and even on the YouTube. This is the conversation. It's not a monologue, but it's a conversation which I would love to encourage us to continue building this platform together. That is why whatever you tell me or whatever you suggest to me, I take it serious, and I try and follow it. And I really appreciate that, because we have to create a platform where we are able to help each other as men, where we are able to uplift each other as men, where we are also able to empower each other, we're able to comfort each other, we're able to counsel each other and correct each other with love. I must be honest, just because I'm a man does not mean I know it all, does not mean I'm right in everything. There is a lot of things that I make mistakes, and just because you're a man, I remember Dolly Parton singing a song, my mistakes are no worse than yours, just because I'm a woman. I must be honest, we also as men, we have serious mistakes, we have serious errors, we have serious instabilities and even inconsistencies. So we need to help each other, we need to equip each other. Just because I'm married does not really mean that I know how to live as a husband to my wife. Just because I have children does not necessarily mean I know how to raise children. I'm a father, I'm a man. Whatever style of leadership I might be using, I might think it's right, but you know what, it may not be right, it may be very wrong. And it is when we converse where we are able to sharpen each other. I said, even during this lockdown, one very important thing is that there's a lot that is demanded from us as men, because when there's crisis, as a man, you have to rise up as a father, as a husband, as the head of your own family, as the head of an organization, as the head of an institution. You have to rise up and give leadership. And there's a lot that is demanded from us. Many people may not see that, but I must be honest, there's a lot that is demanded from us as men. And when a lot is demanded from you, what is your reservoir? What have you stored in your reservoir? And what has been your source of information, your source of knowledge? What is it that has been equipping you? One of the things that are very sensitive is that, most especially when it comes to issues of life, when it comes to areas of study, look, we've got literature, we've got all that we need to equip us in those things. But there are those basic and very important things of life which we don't have books to read, or we don't have lessons that we take. But you know what, friends? I believe that through the conversation, we can be able to work out our curriculum and equip each other and encourage each other and be able to help each other. You know the saying, tigers never cry, about us as men. Tigers never cry. And these very powerful statements can really be so bad, can really dump us into the ditch. Tigers never cry, trying to say, you know what, you must not cry out, you must not be a crying baby. Hey, man, you're not a woman, you're a man, man, you're a man. But you know what, these are the things that makes us do some silly mistakes, because When it is time to cry, I must be able to cry. When it is time to laugh, I must be able to laugh. When it is time to mourn, I must be able to mourn. When it is time to rejoice, I must be able to rejoice. You know, you are human. I am human. We are human. I remember Jesus when he was approaching the tomb of Lazarus, and they had these sisters and everybody else crying, and it says Jesus wept. You know, he expressed an emotion of weeping, you know, an emotion of crying before them, you know, even though he was not crying for the fact that Lazarus is dead, but he was crying to see people grieving and to see people, you know, many a time when I hear of stories, like when I watch what is happening in America now, and how our black brother was so brutally killed, and even in our nation, how men are killed. You know what? You watch those things, and sometimes you cry, and many a times I cry, because when I see men continuing to kill each other and continuing to violate each other because of racial issues and because of all sorts of things that we can attach. But you know, it's so painful to see that men who are supposed to build a nation, men who are supposed to do what is good and right, are the ones that are doing horrible things. And sometimes it's so bad that it's in the hands of law enforcement agencies, you know, pressing somebody, suffocating somebody until they die. This is horrible. And these are the things and the realities that we face as men, and as African men for that matter. You know, I'm tempted to say nobody cares about a black person but God. That's one thing for sure. Nobody cares. You know, you might be a highly educated person, you might be an influential person, and they esteem you very high, and they appreciate you. But I must be honest, it's not you. If you're a black man, if you're a black woman, it's not you they are after, but it's what you have, the knowledge, the skills, the talents that you have. But nobody really cares about a black man except God Almighty. And that is why when we talk of the conversation, we are saying, as men, let's come together. As men, let's help each other. As men, let's equip each other. Let's be able to lean on each other's shoulders. I was so encouraged when I saw Jimmy Fox also, and so many of the celebrities coming together and saying this is against us as a people. And this is what is also happening in our country. And when it's still at a distance, you know, it's just statistics. But I must be honest, this thing can really come home. And it is important for us to rise up as men and do what is good and right, as policemen, as soldiers, as academia, as pastors, as everybody, but as men. It's important for us to know that the DNA of a nation lies upon us. The safety, the protection, the stability, the progress, the healing of a nation lies on us as men. That's very much important. And don't say tigers never cry, and you live in an island until you solve temporary problems with permanent solutions, and do some serious mess because of locking yourself in a cage just because you think people will think you are weak. When you cry, you are weak. When you seek for help, no. When you seek for help, you are not weak, but you want to remain strong. You know, that's one thing for sure. Like Bob Marley said, you can fool some people sometimes, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. One thing that you must never do, don't fool yourself. You know yourself. You know, I said the other day that, you know, even the false prophets, they know that they are false. It's only people who follow them that, in fact, they look at their followers and they laugh because they themselves know that they are false. So you must know yourself. You must know where you're weak. You must know where you need help, and you must be bold enough, and you must be strong enough as a man to cry out and to seek for help. That's very, very much important. And today, friends, one thing that I want us also to look at is that our decisions that are done, it may be in what we call in a secret. They are never in secret, but our decisions are generational. Whatever you do, you might be doing it in secret. Nobody sees, nobody knows, but I want you to know it is generational. It has a direct impact on generations to come. It is not just secret, but it has a direct impact on generations to come. And you know, having said that, I felt such a great responsibility upon my shoulders. And I felt, you know what, even my weaknesses, even my mistakes, the wrongs and the mistakes that I've done, I'm so scared to think that they are not secret, they are not just concealed, but they are generational. They are generational. They can go over to my children, not because of what we call generational curses, but this, beloved, is a law. Like I always say, the character of the king will determine the characteristics of his kingdom, and I have scripture backing to show you that what you do as a man goes a long way. What you do as an individual goes a long way. And I've seen it with this man, King Hezekiah, a great king who postponed his death date when he was told, set your house in order because you are going to die. He prayed and cried out to God until God said, okay, I'm giving you 15 more years. But he did something that was so scary, because when he missed God and the judgment was said to him that, you know what, your children will be taken to captivity and there will be eunuchs in the strange land. And he said, the word of the Lord is good, because it is not happening in my days. That's very scary. That is very scary, because you cannot say, as long as I don't suffer, if it is coming upon my children or my children's children, it's okay. I will not be there. I will be dead. It's like when you tell somebody, most African men and women, when you tell them about investments, they will tell you, no, for how long? 10 years? No, so that they eat my money when I'm no longer there. You know what? Let's face it, family. Let's face it. And sometimes when you talk of investments, it seems like you're talking of something of very long term. But you know what? I had an opportunity around 93 where I was involved in insurance industry, and I remember people will say, after 10 years I'll be dead. They are not dead. I'm not dead. We are alive. And I want to say to us, you know what? It is very, very much important for us to know that our investment is very much important. What am I investing? I'm not talking investment in terms of money. Kalanga does that very well. He did it even on Tuesday. But I'm talking about my life. What kind of an investment am I making on a daily basis? Because whatever I do, whatever I say, the decisions I make, I am making an investment. I am really laying down an investment that is going to come back. It may come back upon my children. It may come back upon my children's children, but it's an investment that I have made. That is why, friends, I want you to know that what conquers you as a father, what conquers you as the head of the family, will surely go and harass your children, will surely go and harass your family. That is why I must be able to deal with things so that I'm not a victim of everything. If I'm a victim of drugs, if I'm a victim of substance or alcohol, guess what? The very same things that have conquered me, they have got an advantage when they go to my children. They have an advantage because they come with a testimony. They are carrying a testimony. They said, we just beat your father. We beat him out of the ring. We give him a technical knockout, or we gave him a knockout. Now, who are you? And these things becomes very much important. You will see even as we continue. I've seen it in the lives of one of the great men that ever lived, the father of faith, Abraham. In Genesis chapter number 20, verses 1 and 2, you know what it says? It says, and Abraham moved from there into the region of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. And while staying in Gerar, and there Abraham said to his wife Sarah, she is my sister. Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. You know what? What is happening here? Abraham, when he was in this place called between Kadesh and Shur, he then says to his wife, when we get there, please, I will say you are my sister, because if I say you are my wife, they might kill me for you. And that's exactly what he did. And Abimelech, the king of Gerar, when he saw that Sarah was beautiful, he sent for her. He said, she must come. She was only rescued by God, because God spoke to him at night in a dream and said, that's somebody's wife. You are dead. You are a dead man. And you know what? As if that was not enough, Isaac was not born then. Isaac was far from being born. You know how Isaac was born when Sarah was very old, when Abraham was very old. So he was not born yet. But you know what? He was in the loins of Abraham. He was locked up in Abraham. And we see him now. And while Abraham was saving himself and thought, I just want to escape this danger. But least did he know that it was generational. It was going to his son. It was going to his unborn son. And you know what? We see him now in Genesis chapter number 26. We see Isaac now that is born. Isaac does exactly what his father did. It reads in verse 7 to 9 in chapter number 26 of Genesis. When the man of the place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," because he was afraid she's my wife. He thought the man of the place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is beautiful. When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, this is the very same Abimelech, looked down up from the window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, "She is really your wife. Why did you say she is my sister?" Isaac answered him and said, "Because I thought I might lose my life on account of her." You see exactly what his father said, exactly what his father did. That's exactly what he is doing. Exactly. Why? Because what you do, my friend, is generational. After all, may I say this, may I remind you, my friend, that you are the foundation of the human race. But far and above that, you are the foundation of your nation. You carry a nation. As a man, you carry a nation. May I remind you of Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons. And these sons, you remember how Jacob wrestled with an angel. And after that wrestling, the angel changed his name. He asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "My name is Jacob." And he said, "From now, you're going to be called Israel, because you have contended and wrestled with a prince and succeeded." You know what? Then he became Israel. Now, Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, those are the sons of Israel. Israel, who was Jacob, those are his sons. Now today we talk of Israel is a great nation, is a powerful nation, but the truth is that this very nation comes from one man called Jacob, called Israel. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say to you, my friend, don't look down upon yourself. Don't look down upon the endowment that God has put in you. Don't look down upon the gift of being a man, the responsibility that comes with it. Don't look down upon it, because, man, you are carrying a nation. And my question will be, as a foundation of your own nation, what kind of a nation are you building? What kind of nation are you raising? Is it a nation of thugs? Is it a nation of mediocrity? Is it a nation of thieves? Is it a nation of useless people, drug addicts and everything, who always glory in things that are so unbecoming? Or are you raising a nation that is going to carry your name from generation to generation, a nation that will be proud to call themselves the sons of Strike, the great-grandchildren of Strike, our great-grandfather who lived, our great-grandfather who laid this foundation, a nation that will be a great nation, a nation that will be prosperous? Or are you raising a nation that is going to be poor, bastard, and even broke for the rest of their lives? And I'm saying to us, gentlemen, you and I are standing in that brink to make sure that we lay a foundation that is going to raise a nation that we are going to be proud of, even when we are no more in this life. A nation that when we come before God, God will say, "Well done, you good and faithful servant." Why? Because you did not just bring children on this world to be a mess, to be thugs, to be all sorts of things, but you made sure that you raise a nation that is able to carry the purposes of God. Did you know, my friend, that every family, you as you watching me today, did you know that you carry a family that has the plan and the purpose of God? You're not alive by mistake or by default. You are here by God's design to make sure that the purposes of God are fulfilled in and through your life and your family and the nation that you are the foundation of. That is very, very much important for us to understand. We're not even here for ourselves. Many people think we are here for ourselves. Friends, you're mistaken. You're not here for yourself. You are here for God's purpose, to fulfill God's purpose. It talks of Daniel, of David in the book of Acts, that David served the purpose of God for his generation and then slept. Before you sleep, you must have served the purpose of God for your generation, the purpose of God for the nation that God has given you the grace to be the foundation of. I'm saying, my dear friends, I'm saying, my dear brothers, I'm saying, my sons, being a man is not joke. Being a man is not about muscles. Being a man is not about, cars which we are crazy of. It's okay. It's not about money. No, being a man is about being a foundation of a nation. Man, let us not be hooked up in perishable, useless things and forget to build something that will last for generations, something that will last for generations to come. And that is why when we talk of Abraham today, he's called the father of faith. You and I today who are born again, we are called children of Abraham. What is it that I'm going to be remembered for? What is it that I'm going to contribute? Some of the people, some of the men, they have contributed immensely. They've done things, they've created technological things, they've invented things that are so helpful today. Electricity, you name it, this and that. But what are you going to bring to this life? Or are you coming here as a beneficiary, as a parasite, and then just enjoy what has been created by others and then vanish? No, my dear brother, no, my dear sister. Sorry for my sisters, I'm talking about gentlemen here. We must leave a mark. You and I must live our lives in such a way that we make a serious mark. My dear brother, make a serious mark. It must be known that you were here, you passed here, you were on planet Earth. Not just because, hey, I had money, had this. That's not enough. You must create something that your nation is going to take going forward. A story is in the book of 2 Samuel, chapter number 21, verses 1 to 6. 2 Samuel, chapter number 21, verses 1 to 6. It makes me cry every time when I look at it. This is the Gibeonites avenging themselves. It reads, during the reign of David, there was a famine for 3 successive years. So David sought the face of the Lord, and the Lord said to him, it is on account of Saul and his blood-stained house. It is because he put the Gibeonites to death. Listen to that. The king summoned the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Now the Gibeonites were not a part of Israel, but were survivors of the Amorites. The Israelites had sworn to spare them, but Saul, in his zeal for Israel and Judah, had tried to annihilate them. That's what Saul did. He almost annihilated them. And David asked the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you? How shall I make atonement so that you will bless the Lord's inheritance? The Gibeonites answered him, we have no right to demand silver or gold from Saul or his family, nor do we have the right to put anyone in Israel to death. What do you want me to do for you? That is King David, because they say we don't have a right to do that. But listen to what they say. David asked them. They answered the king and said, as for the men who destroyed us and plotted against us, so that we have been decimated and have no place anywhere in Israel. Let 7 of his male descendants, you hear that? 7 of his male descendants be given to us, and so that they are killed and their bodies are exposed before the Lord at Gibeah, and of Saul and the Lord's chosen one. So the king said, I will give them to you. You know what? If you remember the story of the woman called Rizpah, who had to take care of the bodies of his 2 sons, it is because of that. Least did Saul know when he killed the Gibeonites, that years later, when he's long gone, 7 of his descendants are going to be killed and hanged for things, for crimes they never committed, for things they've never done. Some of them were not even born. Some of them did not even know what their father did. But you know what? They had to die, because what you do as a man is not personal, it's not secret, it's generational. His sons are killed brutally and are hanged because of his greed and because of his wrongs. And I'm saying to us, friends, what is it that your children are going to suffer because of you? What is it that your grandchildren are going to suffer because of you? Some of us, our children are going to suffer poverty. Our great-grandchildren are going to suffer poverty from generation to generation because of what we have done. Some of us, we have done horrible things. You have broken people's hearts, and your children are going to be heartbroken. Your children are going to suffer. Some of you have abused women, you have abused girls, and you know what? Your children and your great-grandchildren, your daughters, your great-daughters are going to be abused because of you. Some of you have done horrible things. You have killed in secret, but it was not in secret. I want you to know that even that which is done in secret, it is generational. And I'm saying to us, what do we do when things are like this? It is time we humble ourselves, like Nehemiah in his book, Nehemiah chapter 1, when he heard of the condition of Jerusalem. It says he cried, he mourned, he fasted, he repented for his sins and the sins of his fathers. I'm saying, friends, some of us, we're suffering because of the sins of our fathers. No matter what we do, we're not breaking through. We have carried things from our fathers. But you know what? The good news is that you can repent on your behalf and on behalf of your father, so that as you cry out to God, God will forgive us, so that this thing may be cut, these things may stop here, these things may not continue from one generation to the other. Some of us, friends, we don't have stable families or relationships. You marry, you divorce, you marry, you divorce, you have this girlfriend and it doesn't work, this one, it doesn't work. Hey, what is it that you have become a beneficiary of? I want you to repent, and I want you to deal with it so that you are able to build. And know that if you are not faithful, if you are not faithful in your marriage, if you are not faithful in your relationship, it's not personal, it's not secret, it is generational. It is going for your children. Do it for your children. Even if you will not do it for yourself, do it for your children, do it for your grandchildren, do it for your great-grandchildren. Let them say, our father, our great-grandfather stayed with our great-grandmother until death do them part. I'm saying to us, friends, it is very much important for us to know the conversation is our platform. Let us open our hearts to each other. Let us share. I really appreciate your contribution. I really appreciate you communicating with me. And thank you so very much. Let's continue doing it. And this is the conversation with Pastor Strike. Thank you, gentlemen. I love you with the love of the Lord. Thank you, my sons. I love you with the love of the Lord. Until I meet you next week, let's keep talking. Thank you.